All right, so this is a suggestion via Patreon. The name of the video is You'll Never Drink This Again Knowing What It's Made Of. All right, let's get it. Let's see what this is about.
Like and subscribe right now, and you'll have amazing luck for an entire week.
Some of the most common foodstuffs around the world shouldn't even qualify as food.
All right.
You know, like Coca-Cola with its extreme sugar content, this maggot-filled cheese, and what's
I'm sorry, did you say maggot-filled cheese?
probably the most dangerous food you could eat. But before that, number 15, Kopi Luwak.
Okay, hear me out. All right, listen, the coffee's actually good. Regardless of how it's gathered, right? It's actually a solid cup of coffee, all right? So you know. But I get it. It's, maybe it's, never mind.
Luwak is what the Asian palm civet is called in Indonesia.
Yeah.
Pair it with the kopi, and you have the popular Kopi Luwak, a one-of-a-kind type of coffee that's revered not just in Indonesia, but in the Philippines. But the coffee sourcing is a bit at odds with food safety guidelines. And the hint is in its name, Luwak. The civet is allowed to chow down on the coffee beans, and when it defecates, a guy will be there to pick out the partially digested berries. These are the ones that eventually end up in someone's cup, usually for hundreds of dollars per pound. Number 14. Red food coloring. Turns out, not all food dyes are artificial. Some, like the red dye, are just bugs. That's right. If you've eaten any food with added red color,
is it a beetle?
There's a good chance that you've actually downed too many bugs. The bugs in this case are cochineals, harvested primarily from the Canary Islands and Peru. After enough of them are collected, about 70,000 per pound of dye, they're sun-dried, crushed, and dipped in acid to produce the final pigment. Initially, the pigment was simply listed as a natural color on ingredient lists.
Oh my God.
And since 2009, the FDA mandates the insect extracts be specifically named, seeing as they're known to cause allergic reactions in some people. Number 13.
Oh, if you guys don't think I'm going to thoroughly research that one right there, all right.
13.
I hope that's not true.
PSA. Eating raw animal products is probably not a good idea. Exhibit A. Oysters. While the seafood is just as good when cooked, quite a few people love to gobble it down raw, and they do just fine, but quite a good number have had to deal with less than desirable outcomes.
Okay.
Turns out that marine mollusks absorb a lot of harmful viruses and bacteria thanks to filter feeding. Vibrio, which is one of the most common oyster bacteria, for instance, infects close to 80,000 people per year, according to the CDC. The majority of these victims are lucky and end up only with mild stomach upsets. But in severe cases, victims experience severe blistering, life-threatening bloodstream infections, and might even have to undergo limb amputations.
Oh my!
Death is also on the menu, with up to 100 people dying every year after consuming Vibrio-infested raw oysters.
Yeah, I think we're fine over here, guys. I personally don't consume raw oysters. Ew. I don't, mollusks, none of these things. Mussels, no thank you, guys, right? But my wife does, so I should probably pass that on to her.
Number 12. Kazum Maru.
Okay.
Actually, you don't need to know how Kazum Maru is made, or its ingredients to be turned off by the idea of eating it. The name itself translates to rotten cheese, which, unless you have a liking for decomposing food, is enough to reduce your appetite to zero. But being slightly rotten is part of its appeal. Made of sheepskin, Kazum Maru is prepared pretty much like your usual cheese. However, with Kazum Maru, things are a bit interesting down the road.
Where does it go wrong?
And by interesting, I mean really disgusting. Once the cheese is ready, fly larvae are introduced, usually by allowing flies to lay eggs in the cheese. That's certainly disgusting enough, but it gets
But what country is this from?
worse. The young fellas eventually cause oozing as they work their way through the cheese. And even more disturbing is that the cheese is only considered edible if these maggots are still wiggling. and some people prefer devouring the grubs along with the cheese. The maggots, though, don't always get digested.
No, listen. Okay,
End up causing bloody diarrhea, vomiting, and abdominal pain.
This is
Number 11, vanilla flavoring. One of the nice smelling and sweetest ingredients comes from the most unlikely places. An
Oh my
animal's
God.
butt. Yes, your vanilla flavoring might have just been sourced from where the sun don't shine. Especially if you paid a little extra for it. And you have the beaver to thank for that.
Paid extra
Just like
for
a
it.
lot of animals out there, beavers too have a penchant for marking their territory. For this, they use castoreum, which not only directly secreted from the butt, inevitably ends up getting mixed with both urine and other anal secretions. But unlike similar secretions from other animals, castoreum is sweet-smelling and tastes quite good. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how your natural vanilla flavoring is sourced.
Not
Good
the kids eating the ice cream cones, guys.
thing the
Not
secretion
kids.
is also safe. At least according to the FDA, and the fact that it's been used for almost 100 years.
Is that what natural flavor means, guys? You know what? You know what? It may just be better just to, just eat everything organic. Just eat what you know. Just eat what you grow, maybe. Because that is nasty, guys.
Number 10.
I've been disgusted with
Fugu.
everything. Okay, fugu is actually good. Just make sure you get it properly prepared.
Natural vanilla flavoring might be disgusting, but at least it won't kill you. The same, however, can't be said of fugu or pufferfish. Common in Japan, the dish has some strict rules around its preparation, thanks to tetrodotoxin, arguably one of the most toxic substances known to man. According to National Geographic, tetrodotoxin is about 1,200 times more toxic than cyanide, and there's enough of it in a single pufferfish to kill at least 30 adult humans. Yeah, that doesn't sound like something anyone should be eating. Even with specially trained chefs, quite a few diners meet their untimely ends every year due to tetrodotoxin poisoning. Number 9. Peanut butter. Peanut butter is thankfully all good as far as ingredients go. But
So what's the
depending on
problem?
how the peanuts are handled, the popular spread could end up having dangerous levels of aflatoxins. This is especially the case in the developing world with fairly lax food standards. Continued ingestion of aflatoxins in these countries has been linked to a barrage of health problems, including stunted growth in children, liver cancer, and delayed mental development. But aflatoxin is far from being the only problem with peanut butter. Apparently, rodent hairs and insect fragments are some of the things you should be expecting in every serving. And that's according to the FDA, who says,
Rodent hairs.
yeah, sure, no problem, it can go in there. Every 100 grams of peanut butter comes with one or more rodent hairs.
Oh, guys, I don't. Why would you send this video to me?
And at least 30 insect parts. Thank you for
30 every 100 grams. There's a certain amount of allowed rodent hairs and insect parts. Oh, you just ruined me, bro. You ruined me today.
nothing, FDA. Number 8. Chewing gum. Chewing gum has a
here we go.
surprisingly
Here
long
we go.
history with the oldest evidence dating back 5,000 years ago in present-day Finland.
Okay.
Ancient Greeks, Mayans, and Aztecs also had their own forms of gum sourced naturally from plants. Of
Okay.
course, a lot has changed in the world of chewing gum since the
Right.
times of these civilizations. For instance, today's ingredients are way different from what the ancient people used.
Okay.
There are going to be variations depending on the brand, but the most common chewing composition includes flavors, polyol coating for hard outer shells, a softener, a sweetener, glycerin, and most importantly, a gum base.
Okay.
The gum base is what makes chewing gum. You know,
Oh, I thought
chewing
this was
gum.
about to be
Now,
crazy,
most
guys.
manufacturers keep the composition of their gum base to themselves, but there's some idea of what these manufacturers use. It's called lanolin, and it's found in
Lanolin.
sheepskin. Exactly how and when the
Sheepskin?
ingredient became an important addition to the gum base is still a mystery. Number
They just put everything in everything, guys.
7. Spray cheese. Spray cheese is a little
Oh no, guys. this?
little more than just cheese packaged in a can. It's not even entirely real cheese to begin with.
What? Did this man put the cracker on top of it, sprayed it, and then made like a perfect... Do you guys do that? Let me know. Is this normal? Like, everyone knows that, right? Everyone knows, because I didn't know that. I mean, it looks pretty perfect, actually.
Cheese packaged in a can. It's not even entirely real cheese to begin with, which shouldn't be a concern. But it's these other not-so-cheesy parts that should worry you.
Okay.
The first one is sodium citrate.
Right.
It keeps the cheese from becoming clumpy, but comes with the risk of tooth erosion, given its acidic nature. Speaking of acids, sorbic acid is another spray cheese addition that's not exactly safe.
Sorbic acid?
It's a preservative for the most part, keeping the mold away from the cheese an unnecessarily long time. While safe to consume, skin contact is bound to cause rashes or even worse outcomes if you're allergic. Number 6. Jelly beans.
See, guys, I'll tell you this right now. Don't eat jelly beans. Going forward, listen, there's some people who love them. I learned a long time ago that it's probably best to not consume jelly beans based off of some of the ingredients in jelly beans, guys.
Address the old question of why jelly beans are hard and shiny. Unlike the sugary treat, the explanation is anything but tasty, and it traces back to India and Thailand. The forests here have tiny insects called lac bugs that secretes a resin called shellac after hours of ingesting tree sap. This shellac is what gives jelly beans their characteristic hard and shiny appearance. Preparing the shellac is quite straightforward. It's simply scrubbed from the tree branches and twigs, dissolved into ethanol, and then directly sprayed onto jelly beans. Think about that the next time you grab a handful of these candies.
Yeah, I stopped.
But
I guess the coffee's just as bad too, isn't it? Okay.
From jelly beans, shellac's shininess has found use in fingernail polish and hardwood floor manufacturing.
Right.
Number 5. Instant noodles. Instant noodles are convenient when you need a quick munching, but making them your everyday meal is certainly not in your best interest for a couple of reasons. For starters, if you're eating instant noodles every day, there's a big chance that your overall diet is quite poor. And that means you'll be missing some pretty important nutrients. But it's not just about what instant noodles don't have. High sodium content and flavor-enhancing compound called monosodium glutamate are two problematic instant noodle ingredients that few people know about.
MSG?
The sodium isn't bad on its own, but it could be bad news for salt-sensitive people, potentially leading to an increase in blood pressure. Monosodium glutamate, on the other hand, could negatively impact brain health, accelerate weight gain, as well as induce nausea and headaches, especially if ingested frequently. And it's in a lot of American Chinese food.
Yeah.
Number 4.
Yeah.
Black Ivory coffee. Black Ivory coffee is basically just Arabica, the most common coffee cultivar. But before the bean ends up in someone's coffee maker, they're first fed to elephants and picked up when the gigantic mammals defecate. This reportedly gives the...
Bro, can you imagine, filling out an application for that job, guys? Can you imagine? What do you smell like when you come home from work, bro? You know what you smell like.
Coffee a unique taste that a lot of people are willing to pay through the noses for. A pound of coffee will set you back $500 and $50 for a cup. By far the most expensive coffee in the world. Number 3.
Okay.
CocaCola. Few drinks come close to the popularity of CocaCola. Pretty much everyone on the planet has had a bottle of this fizzy drink at one point. But how many people know what makes up the caramel refreshment? You can bet there are not that many. Everyone, though, knows about the sugar. A single 355 milliliter can contains about 35 grams of sugar, which is equivalent to 9 teaspoons. That's already slightly above the recommended daily sugar intake in one serving. Downing a few cans often enough is how you're likely to end up obese, with heart disease, type 2 diabetes, and a slew of other diseases. Oh, and the can also contains phosphoric acid that could lead to weak bones down the road. Number 2. Sour candy. Speaking of acidic treats, sour
I'm not a CocaCola drinker, so it's fine.
candy is another popular option. And unlike Coca-Cola, the candy doesn't have just one type of acid. Some brands do, but a good deal will usually have 2 or more acids that help bring out the desired sour flavor. The go-to acids here include malic, tartaric, citric, and fumaric. Naturally, different combinations lead to vastly different flavors, but that's a subject for another day. For now, it's all about how these acids in sour candies in general have had some not-so-nice effects, especially if you don't know when to stop. Chrissy Teigen found that out the hard way a few years ago, but a chafed tongue is a tiny part of what...
Sorry, this screen here is a lot more zoomed in, guys. That is... I've never seen a chafed tongue before, guys. It's very unfortunate looking. It looks almost burnt. Okay.
You'll have to deal with. The acids and extra sugars in the candies are also bad for your teeth.
Can
Before
imagine.
we move on, I've got a little challenge for you that'll take 5 seconds to complete. So here's the deal. You just leave a like on this video, smash that subscribe button and hit the notification bell, and you will get 25 years of amazing luck. Try it. It really works.
It does work. It does. All right, guys, listen. In terms of what I learned today, in terms of this video here, the cheese with the maggots, guys, yeah, that's nasty. I'm not generally a cheese person anyway, right? So I probably will never encounter it. But I have encountered some absolutely disgusting smelling cheeses in the UK where, you know, hey, listen, you go over to someone's house and, you know, they want to offer you cheese and things like that because apparently people eat cheese. That's not like a sandwich. They just eat cheese. You know what? Listen. And so it was probably the most disgusting tasting cheese I've ever had in my life. It was really smelly. It was the most smelly cheese in my life. And it probably had maggots in it or something close to it. I'm trying to think of something disgusting. But they were super happy and proud about this nasty smelling cheese, right? I explained to them, hey, listen, you know, the most exotic I get would probably be Swiss cheese. And as they laugh at me, right? You know what? It's fine. I don't really jump into all the other nasty, smelly cheeses, guys, right? And with all due respect, I don't want your nasty, smelly cheese. Okay? But all right, listen, you guys all have an absolutely amazing day. Enjoy your day thoroughly.